just when you thought it was safe. At the very moment you thought it was over. It wasn't.
Woo! Spook of Madness 2.
I'm so spooked.
Week 2. I'm very spooked. Hey, this is Spark of Madness podcast. I'm Matt. That's Aaron over at the...
Oh, my God.
Whoop, cut. His
hey.
head's got off. There we
We're
go.
professionals.
Yeah.
Aaron at the controls, and over here is Ben. And we have a special guest, Colin Orr, back in the flesh this time.
I'm actually here. I'm in studio. First time.
If I had a crazy Zoom, I would do it.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Hold
Just
on.
like slowly.
Matt, you keep
creep
presenting.
in.
I'm going to
Okay.
do my thing.
So we're going to...
And here our special guest. Spark of Madness podcast. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I'm scared.
and then it comes back and Jeff Goldblum shirtless. He's right behind you.
We have fun here.
Yeah. So yeah, this is I guess we introed it. This is the Spook of Madness. So for all of October we do spooky movies for Halloween.
Gotta say, I wasn't spooked by either of these.
Yeah,
No,
these aren't necessarily spooky, but we're gonna do a showdown, which we did a showdown last year, which was the
Dracula.
Four
Draculas.
Dracula movies, yeah.
We did 4 of them. So this year we cut that in half. We're just doing 2.
Because that
Showdown
show
between
was
2.
almost 2 hours, was it?
That was a long show.
But that was
a
a
good
fun
show.
one.
It was one of the better ones.
And nobody
Yeah.
watched, but we loved it.
Nobody watched. Colin, did you watch that one?
Don't remember it.
That's where Colin
But
has
yes.
He's like, I took a correspondence course.
you turn to Colin's like, did you like that episode? And he's like, I don't enjoy your work.
I think you cut it out, though. You have an edited version of it, right?
I do.
It was a little derivative.
It's like the Dracula and
It's
Dracula.
really sucked the life out of you. Boom!
Oh,
All right, here we
I
go.
had a Bloody Mary after that one.
All right, so we're gonna do The Fly versus The Fly. This is the idea. This was the backup plan we had last year for showdowns. So we're gonna do the 1958 version.
Yes,
Yes,
58.
1958.
Yeah.
was the year. Okay, and then the 1986 version.
I was 1 year old. 1 year old. 1 year.
When I was 1 year old,
2.
I saw The Fly. Okay, you guys wanted to do.
No, I was 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, before we get into
Depending on when it came out. If it came out in the winter, maybe. But before July of 1986, I would have been one.
Can we fact check
All right.
this? Because I really need to
This is
know.
gonna be a
yeah,
long
let's
pod.
look this up. So before we get into that, like usually we'll just at the very end we'll rate the movie 1 out of 10. This time I think we'll probably do that for both movies, but we'll pick kind of our winner and kind of why. You guys had something planned to kind of recap the plots of the plots. Even though
Yes.
there's a lot of overlap.
Colin's idea. So I'm going to. Wait. What are we talking about?
We're starting the podcast.
The synopsis.
We're
Yeah.
doing step 1 of podcast.
I'm thinking. Remember the plan. Remember the plan. And then you're like, what?
So remind if people are listening,
We're gonna do-
these are
we're-
total spoilers.
There's a
but
2 synopsis.
If you want to like kick into like remembering what the movie,
Yeah,
happened in the
spoiler
movies.
for a movie that was made back in 1958.
yeah,
in 1986. But I'm gonna spoil the synopsis of the 1958 version.
Okay.
And I'm going to do it as Vincent Price. After a scientist is crushed to death by a mechanical press, his wife recounts to his brother Francois, who is played by Vincent Price, to the inspector. I can't think of his name. The inspector, the event of the previous few months. So anyways, this happens. They think his wife is crazy, telling the story of teleportation and his husband turning into a fly. And she killed him, murdered him, cold-blooded under a crusher. And no one believes her. And they're recounting the tale. And then
I believe it.
Philip?
and
Is that you, Philip?
no, it's Philippe.
Oh,
And then the son finds a little fly with a white head. And it's really his father, turned half fly, part of him, the molecules, made the human side of him with a fly head and a fly arm, and then the fly part had a.
Oh, no,
human
I get
head.
it. It makes sense.
Yes. So they wanted to try to find the fly to reverse the process. And the current. Just tell the rest. Yeah.
Remember the plan. Remember the plan.
Anyways, the inspector,
stick to plan.
the famous scene, the inspector and Francois find the fly that is Andre,
That has the heads.
and they finally believe
Yeah.
the wife
That she's not crazy.
that she's not crazy because it's all made up of science fiction.
That was kind of the, I guess, where we were talking like this isn't like horror really. It's not like scary,
Sponsored by
but
Arizona.
because it's very sci-fi esque.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, but
not a
I
horror.
did really love the science in both of these.
it was.
They're very different types of sci-fi creep out. It's
Yeah.
it's less horror than it is like
But they're both tragedies.
1958 creep out and 1986
Maybe that's
creep out.
a big reason why it's scary because
So-
it's both tragic.
Yeah.
So tell the synopsis.
Yeah, who's
Aaron,
gonna do the other one?
synopsis?
Yeah, I don't want to.
Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, you do it. It's Jeff Goldblum. Let's see how it goes.
Really putting me
Okay,
on the
I'll do
spot.
it.
I'll do it.
All right, Colin, go.
Jeff Goldblum was a scientist that was hitting on a journalist, and
And she was in a league of her own.
she was independent. She was gonna get the scoop of the century. She goes over to his place. Whatever, scientist, you just want to get in my pants. No, he actually made teleportation.
Yeah. You're gonna
And-
want to talk to him.
Yeah, you want to. She goes to her ex. He's kind of a bastard, and he was like, "Don't go to him. You just want to get in his pants." He didn't do anything. Then he was jealous that she wanted Jeff Goldblum, and through some experiments of Alexa, because all he did was talk to his computer.
That's right.
And
Hey Alexa.
hey,
Hey Alexa, can you invent teleportation?
Google.
Thank you.
Gene splice me.
and
Alexa, please play Separate Ways.
he got
My phone turned on. Gene looked up gene splice. That's really freaking scary.
That's what happened to your face.
The CIA is going to be barging in here
turning
any
into a
minute.
fly.
Help me.
Sorry, go ahead.
But he put himself into the experiment because he put a baboon through and it was successful. We'll get into the major detail that I would really love to talk about how did he even get baboons.
Yeah, that's the big on the answer.
I mean,
Yeah, seriously. Chimpanzees are easy to control.
yeah, but baboons, and then he had 2 of them.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. But he puts himself in it, and then he starts turning into Brundlefly. And
the lamest superhero
Yeah,
ever.
yeah.
Brundlefly. Yeah, you know what a brundle is? It's like a bunch of Jeff Goldblums wrapped up together.
hello.
A brundle of
Oh, hello.
It's
Oh,
a, mel-
yeah,
it's
hell
a
yeah.
melting Jeff
Oh,
Goldblum.
must go
whatever.
faster.
If you've seen Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule, that's just him saying bundle. Hey, you want to see my brundle?
No, no, bro. But then the experiment, they go back there because she's pregnant and she had a bad dream that she was going to have a larva child, and decided to, I want to see him one last time.
Mm-hmm.
Causes a bunch of problems. Goes in for abortion. Jeff Goldblum breaks into the hospital, gets her, brings her back home, and
The
he
romance
ends up
concludes from there.
You know,
you know
That's
what
when
happens when you turn into a fly
the
man.
metamorphosis is complete. And, yeah.
They should have named him Greg for this movie.
Oh, that would have been great.
Brundle.
Grundlefly.
That's what I kept on thinking. Like, were they trying to base it off of that? Because he was
Grundlefly.
But yeah, we'll get into it. But
Yeah.
like,
I guess
it's
one of my first questions for you is you all is
Y'all.
as we talk about the movies.
Thank you for using my
whi-
native tongue.
Yeah, which of the movies has the better story? To me, obviously there's a lot of overlap. The big key
Well,
part is that
Can we tell one difference between the synopsis of the
Well, that's what I'm trying to. That's where I'm going.
Oh, but like,
go ahead.
Just in the teleportation
Sure.
part, instead of two separate bodies, the Brundlefly is just one fly.
It fuses.
It fuses
Yeah,
with
it fuses,
each other.
yeah.
There's no two
That's
separate
the
bodies.
big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Can't stress that
the
enough.
overall structure, I guess, of the two movies are different. Whereas one is 1958 is all about the big reveal of like what happened.
Because he has a cloth on his head the whole time.
Yeah, it's like what happened when the experiment went wrong, and we don't necessarily
They don't even
know
show
the
it.
fly part. Like
we didn't know he teleported.
Yeah.
You know.
So there's this big mystery around it. Whereas this one is the mystery's revealed
The
early.
mystery is only where the baboons came from.
Exactly.
Well,
and this is all. It's more about
He's in the city.
him living with these powers that he gets, and then like it's slowly like decaying over time.
And I realized why they had to do that is because we've seen this movie before.
well,
Do something different.
That doesn't stop
we don't,
people
we,
from.
don't, we don't need the mystery anymore. You know, we know he's going to turn to a fly.
And also, when the first one was made, that was back when television was newer. All these technologies were newer, and
They were not well understood.
Yeah, and so
They referenced TV quite a bit.
and that's
in the
what I
first
loved.
one.
Yeah, that's what I loved was that like they were scared of technology.
Yeah.
And this one was we're scared of our genes.
Well,
or the 86.
well, the
one.
50s, like, you know, the atomic bomb, duck and cover, all that stuff. Yeah, there was a lot of technological fear.
Yeah.
But the first one was shot in Technicolor. And it was
It looked very good.
It was. It was funny because they made a sequel to the first one called the Son of Fly. It came out a few years later. It was
About
shot.
Philippe.
Yeah, he turns into the fly, and Vincent Price is in it, and the fly's a bigger head, and it's black and white. It's much more B movie. It was not nearly as good. But then they made a sequel to the 1986 Fly, which is called Fly 2, but it's the same concept as Son of Fly. And you talked about how she had the dream of giving birth to
A larva.
a larva. She kind of does in this one.
Oh,
The very beginning, and she dies in childbirth. And
That's
it's all
gross.
and it's all about and it's directed by the guy who made The Fly. And it's actually not bad. It's a different movie, but it's actually not bad. I actually kind of enjoyed it. And it's got the original Marty McFly in it.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
That guy.
the OG. Fly.
Also, there's another difference. Jeff Goldblum gives us the secret word: cheeseburgers.
Yes, of course.
cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers.
That's right. He does that.
Cheeseburgers.
You got to touch and eat the cheeseburgers.
So, so I guess what's something that really stands out as like I don't know, something you really appreciated. Maybe let's start with the first one. Something you really appreciated about the first one. This has been probably the third time I've seen it, so there were a couple things I noticed that were like still held up. But I'm curious what you guys think.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's. I think one thing that was really cool is, probably, how the slow build up to what the actual story was, and it was more of a impactful feeling when you saw his fly head. And yeah, I mean.
I like the mystery.
We're like
of
an
it.
hour and a half, like almost an hour and a half in before you even see the fly head.
I love the first one, how it has this. You really want them to find, especially the first time I watched it as a kid. My mom loves this movie, by the way. She loved it because she was a child in the 50s.
And kids love everything.
Oh yes, yeah. But the like them trying to find the fly with the head. Because it would be too late. You know what I mean? Because his mind's losing. You're really hoping, and you get so like it's the tragedy.
There
that
was
he
a sense of
didn't-
Yeah,
frantic.
you know what the story is,
Even-
but then
Yeah, even that the
fighting
beginning.
for him.
You know the beginning. You know that he was crushed to death at the beginning. You're still like hoping. Oh, maybe they'll find.
He
him.
might be
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe it was a different fly mutated guy that got crushed.
Like that's gross too. Like that death. Like
yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of little parts like Vincent Price has some of the best lines in it, I think.
what is it, Philippe?
And I love
Where's the fly with the white head?
when he's on the phone with the wife. She's like, I murdered my husband. And he goes, I've had a hard day. I'm just like,
I don't have time for jokes.
I love that.
This is the 50s, too.
And in the 50s,
How do you know how to use a telephone?
and,
Take your hysteria pills.
and giving Philippe some wine at
Yeah.
dinner, and he's like, this tastes good. I'm like, okay.
No, yes.
Philippe.
Well, it was French 50.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was
Francois.
it was Ontario, wasn't it?
Oh, excuse me.
Some kind of Canada, I think.
I think you're right.
Thank you.
Um,
Which would explain why they're French, but not because their accents
with the French
are
names.
Not,
Yeah.
They don't have very thick French accents.
How
at
do you? Why don't you think I'm French?
They'll drop in and out of French accents and stuff.
Oui.
It was a weird tone.
The guy that was talking to the cat at the very beginning.
yeah,
Yeah.
The inspector had more of a French.
it might be
accent.
Quebecois.
He's like, I'll get my top men on it.
Who?
Inspector Caruso,
Excuse me. Who?
the inspector.
Inspector who?
Clouseau.
I said it.
You said what?
Robinson Caruso.
There you go. Perfect. Good save.
So I was looking at my. I think
I
it
hate
was
you.
about 27 minutes in before they went to the flashback in the 1958 version.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta
Like,
say,
it was a third.
not a brisk paced movie.
It was a third of the movie in before they finally went back to the character they were talking about for the first 27
Did that
minutes.
bother you though?
A little bit.
Yeah.
There was, I think it could have been cut.
What are you talking about? Like, I don't understand.
1958. They stay in the present time before going back to like
Like all
how
the
it all
explanation.
started, right?
They
Yeah.
ruminate on the crushing.
They
for
were
a
in
while.
the present, setting up the fact that someone
Yeah.
was murdered for 27 minutes of an hour and a half movie.
It's actually
So-
over 2 hours.
What?
I think so.
You don't like how they came back at the end?
No, I do. That's very standard structure. Is you start at the end and
Yeah.
then go back, and then it pulls you into where you
He's
started.
saying it's like RoboCop 3, where you don't see RoboCop for like the first 15 minutes.
Well, it's just like I feel they could have gotten it moving a little bit, but to your point, it also sets up kind of the pacing, slow mystery of it. You bring in these murder inspectors. You don't know if she's crazy.
Two
you don't
strokes. It's set to 2 strokes.
Speaking of two strokes. That was one.
know. What did you guys think of Vincent Price in the movie?
He's easily the best part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
I
he
loved
is.
him. I loved him so much.
He was very stone. Cool.
He just has
Steve
this aura about him that makes him fun to watch.
I love
his
Vincent
facial
Price.
expressions when they were explaining the murder and stuff like that. He was just like,
I think I read something that he.
There he is. You're doing it right with him.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh,
Perfect.
he's always worried like this.
Are there 2 Vincents?
Yes, there are two.
No, I have a bit of trivia.
Everybody
I
in the
think,
theater.
I think I read somewhere that when he and the inspector character were filming the spider scene, they couldn't stop laughing at how
really?
absurd
That's
it was.
great. That's awesome. I love that.
It's like,
I don't take my work too serious.
oh, yes. There's nothing beneath you.
Another one of my favorite parts is when the mom's on the phone and you hear Philippe go, "I don't wanna," and then the
Drink
maid,
your wine.
The maid is like pulling him in, and it's like, "You're gonna eat your supper," and she's on the phone and she goes, "Philippe's such a juvenile delinquent," and I love that so much.
He doesn't like drinking the wine.
The maid is not raising him right.
He's a juvenile delinquent.
At one point, I think Vincent Price says, maybe someone, maybe Elaine says it. They go, I'll assume it's Vincent Price. Electronics is a profitable field. In 1958, it's just like,
Oh, yes.
oh, okay.
God,
This is the
tell me
timing.
more.
These Texas instruments.
I've only been invited to the lab 3 times.
So my very first note around 1958 was, "God damn, I love Vincent Price." That's my very first note.
I think that's where we can all agree.
I
No,
will
he's
say
so
though,
charming.
the thing I will say is that
What?
I think he could have been integrated into the story a
Do
little
you think
bit
he
better.
could have been the scientist?
He was more of a bookend character.
Yeah, he kind of was just peripherally there.
Yeah.
I'm a framing device.
Just because he's just such a talented person. It's like, let's have him in the movie.
Yeah, he'll sell the tickets.
Yeah. So I kind of wished he maybe like his romantic interest in the wife, or I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
he
that
was
was
more
brought up a
involved
little
in
bit
the
more.
experiments or something.
Oh, yes, but Francois likes to work on
Yeah,
his
they
own.
really didn't do much with his being in love with the wife. The inspector's like, "Do you love her?" And he's like, "Yes."
Yes,
That's the end of it.
Yes, and that's the end of it.
We will not explore this further
Yeah,
in the
he
movie.
he even asked him a little bit more, and he was just like, I loved her, and she loved my brother, so I just let it
It's
happen,
not
you
in
know,
the
it's
script.
fine.
Let's move on.
Yes.
And so I got the old sock out. My
So there really wasn't a Vincent Price analog in the 1986. The 1986 movie was basically two and a half
people.
characters,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was more focused.
and that was it.
It was kind of like a which
The
was
baboon, if you want to.
it is, but you know, if you break down the 1986 version, it can almost be like a play because it only takes place mostly in that big
Yeah, it
apartment.
has the 3 characters, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So the stage play would be just named Fly! With an exclamation point.
Dun, dun.
with
Help me,
cheeseburger.
help me.
Start writing.
You're murdered just like she did.
I think it's a General Cronenberg styling to really cut the movie down. Is that what he does usually? I feel like
It's very
it is.
80s too. Like that's
The computers.
that's what's cool about the 2 movies is that they definitely fit in their eras.
Yeah.
so
Kids
well.
drinking wine, talking to computers.
Talking
They got it right. God, that's what I was doing in '86.
So forward thinking.
What was it?
If other life form was present, then who was Fly? Yes, I know.
Well, so I would say just as, and not to rip on Andre from or Elaine for that matter, but
Elaine.
I feel like Vincent Price really is the
backbone.
eye catcher in that movie, whereas in this one, I feel like in this one, 1986, The Fly, I feel like that movie only works because Jeff Goldblum
Oh my gosh.
sells everything.
Yeah.
For any moment that is even like, oh, that was gross, when he just throws up.
Yeah.
Like little moments like that, or when it's just a ridiculous, he's crawling on the ceiling.
Do you know how they shot that? Do you know
sells
that?
it.
Speaking of the ceiling shot, do you know how they shot that? It's a cool special effect. They and movies still
Built
do
a
it
room
today.
sideways?
They built a rotating room, and everything was glued on. You know, everything was
So
glued
you're
on.
telling me
so he's there's
Inception ripped off The Fly?
oh yeah.
Inception ripped
No,
off
yeah,
everything, dude.
yeah. No, it was all The
Hot
Fly,
take.
and they made him crawl on the ceiling, come down, and jump down. It was all like timing with how the room was rotating.
And they probably had to rotate the lights, too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, I
didn't think
love
about
his
that.
opening line.
I'd
I
like
mean,
to say
Jeff
for the
Goldblum
record
is
that
so
when I
Jeff
said
Goldblum.
sideways room, I was technically right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Jeff Goldblum is so Jeff Goldblum in this. He's like the epitome of Jeff Goldblum.
Yep.
And I
He's,
love.
he's kind of less Jeff Goldblum in other Jeff Goldblum
yeah,
movies.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, like his
the-
biography.
He's the bloomiest in this.
but his opening line, I love it because he opens it up, and he's like, "What am I working on? Oh, I'm gonna save the world." But it's just like it's so great. I
Yeah.
love it.
I like that they worked in very subtly a reason he would invent this. It was
Yeah,
two scenes.
I like
What was the
that.
reason again?
that he gets motion sickness really easily. So whenever he's in a car, he always gets kind of sick. And so because of that, a genius may logically invent transportation. So you don't have to be in a car. You just instantly get to where you want to go. I thought that was a nice little ad.
What else?
It gets a lot of mileage because it's
That's
so
it?
simple.
What do you mean?
I don't think a genius really needs a motive to make anything. I think,
I'm just saying they worked it into this movie.
They did, but in real life though, like Elon Musk is making all these ideas just because he wants to. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just because he wants to.
So are you ripping on this movie for adding?
No,
it in?
I'm
That's
ripping.
unrealistic.
I'm ripping on everything has to have a reason for Matt.
Usually in a movie, everything should have a reason,
Shut up, you.
even if the reason is to look cool.
now
always on my side. Why are you on
here's
I'm
where
90% of you on your side.
here's where I'll rip into the
Thanks for the
having no
10%
reason.
today.
So I thought the telepods were really cool designs in this.
Oh, they
one
are pretty cool,
in
yeah.
1986. But
Yeah.
the fact that there was voice recognition made no sense to me. Like the whole computer component of it, it added nothing.
Well,
it also became a just, hey, are you keeping up? At one point where he could have looked up what had happened to him at like a week earlier, right after it. So I'm referring to the scene where much later after his body has decayed even more, and he just goes to the computer and it's like, oh yeah, you were spliced with a fly, dude. And like
Yeah.
a computer just tells him that.
Probably should have checked those logs
maybe,
a while ago.
maybe do some research.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, he went into all this. He says, "I don't know how this stuff works. I just get people to build it for me."
Here's another thing. Like one of the big storylines is that
What in the world?
she's in
Camera.
oh
I'll
She's-
fix this.
Here,
flip to
to
Matt
me.
so there's
Yeah.
something.
I'm working on it.
So one of the things sausage is made. One of the things that didn't make sense, kind of a plot hole maybe, but one of the big storylines in the first 1986 Flies is that she's impregnated with his seed that
In 58, you mean?
no 68
yeah,
or 87 sorry,
86.
dyslexic.
But I have something to that though, like because they do the baboon scene, and oh no, you're talking about the 56.
No 86.
The 86. What I thought was so funny about it was after the baboon is inside out, like right after, he's sitting on his couch bed, and he's just thinking about it, and she's like, "You're hot. Let's have sex." Like right after seeing the baboon inside out, you're like, "Why don't we just give it a
And
night?"
Then they immediately eat steaks.
Oh, yeah.
right after.
Yeah, because
It's
he's like,
he was like, "You want to do an experiment?
you want to do an
Like, right after
experiment?
they had sex.
What does it taste
They
like?
saw an
He doesn't
inside-out
taste.
baboon.
Yeah, he doesn't taste it himself. He's like, "How does it taste?" And she's like, "Synthetic." Oh, well,
I'll have to put that in my notes.
yeah.
Scientific."
But yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But my plot hole was that he had sex with another with another
oh, that girl.
the other prostitute. Is like,
Yeah.
is she impregnated too?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
So you're theorizing that having been spliced with an
Did he have
insect
sex
or a
with her?
fly. Yeah,
Oh, they
he
did have sex. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's when
Heavily
he was
implied.
like,
Yeah.
"You gotta go through. You gotta go
yeah.
through."
You gotta go through. Yeah, that was
You
yeah.
chicken shit. Yeah. When she wouldn't do it.
Oh my god, he seemed like he was on cocaine at that
so
part.
Mad,
He was
yeah.
like,
I loved
Flies are
loved
manic,
his
man.
manic energy as the
yeah.
fly. Loved it.
yeah, when
he's
he
eating
turned
all
into
the-
a gymnastics
Yeah.
star, like
he's just mainlining sugar in his like,
And he
just
breaks
like,
the guy's arm.
"Where's
wrestling.
the
oh my
waiter?"
gosh, yeah,
That was gross.
yeah, that was.
It's very
crazy.
gross.
The little Cronenberg flourishes, I really liked. I really.
Well, do you know
liked
what's
that.
interesting in this movie? The first billing is not the director. It's not Cronenberg. It's the guy who made The Fly.
I'm
Is
sure
it-
because they won an Oscar.
Yeah, but he was first billing even before they won the Oscar in the opening credits.
Oh,
And what's interesting, he directed The Fly too. That guy, and it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Can
But those
I,
special effects are pretty good.
Can I add something about that opening of 1986 Fly? Is that the music is done in such a way that it feels like a much older movie? What are we pointing at?
Yeah, no, I was pointing at you. Sorry, I was excited that you mentioned music because that's Howard Shore.
Yeah, it felt like a 50s score, at least at first, to me.
Maybe it was an homage.
A homage.
liked it.
homage, and then a very 1980s apartment
Yeah,
with that like
Just a loft.
sliding.
the loft. Yeah, the loft with the metal door.
Yeah, he must have a lot of money to have that space in New York City.
Yeah,
And a teleportation
And two
device.
baboons.
And two baboons.
And don't forget the cappuccino machine with the little eagle on
oh my
it.
gosh, I wanted that cappuccino machine so bad. Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, and two baboons. you were like this. Yeah, and
Let me
two
refer to
baboons.
Two baboons.
my notes. Yeah, two baboons.
Two baboons.
That price.
I even have it right here. Where is he getting all these baboons?
Well, he was funded by somebody, right? He was.
With all these baboons up in here.
Yeah, he did mention that he was like, I don't cost as much as other scientists or something. Like they don't worry about me.
They gave me hot pockets
So what would
and
you?
two baboons.
Let's talk about. We've talked a little bit. If we're talking about both movies, 1958 and 1986, what would you say is some of the weaker components of each?
The weaker component is the Fly doesn't really hold up in the like
The old one?
The old one. It's not as scary.
I wonder if they did that because it was back in the day in '56.
But as a kid, I was freaked out
It
by
was
it.
very B movie, very B movie.
But it wasn't
It was
B
a
movie.
high
Right.
production.
They did a
B
good
movie.
job with the mouth tingling when he finally got the it
It moved a
ripped
little
off,
bit.
and it was like,
I really, I like the Cronenberg one. There wasn't a hope, a way that last grasp of hope of him changing back. It wasn't even trying to. Was he trying to figure out how to get back?
He was trying to
No,
assimilate two other
he was
humans
trying
to
to, like-
reduce the fly DNA.
well,
Yeah.
and then also they kind of took from the older one where he was starting to get into the mind of the fly, and it was mixing with his own mind.
Yeah. So that hope of trying to find the white fly with the white head, I think, was a good part of the story in the original one. Where I think, but it's a different
just
movie.
hopeless.
Yeah,
It was
but
hopeless
yeah,
as a long
because
time.
you're on edge when they're like trying to catch it. You're like, oh,
yeah.
you almost got it. You almost got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting, both of them
It's
knew
such a
they had to kill
difficult task
themselves.
it's such a difficult.
Oh, yeah,
task
find
just to
this
begin
one
with.
fly.
Yeah, that has
Yeah.
a white
Yeah.
head. How did they paint a fly?
I think they
white?
did.
Yeah.
They
How did they
did.
capture all that?
I don't
They
know,
did.
but I love it when they take the fly and it lands on the bed, and it's just this like sudden drop. And like you're just
Yeah.
like, oh, they just put a dead fly on a string and threw it out there.
You know, yeah, there was also that tragedy moment. He had the fly, and like they had it twice.
and then he
he
They
let
had
it go.
at least twice, and they let it go.
Yeah,
And the
it's
music right there is
it's
really cool.
So tragic, you know, it's so frustrating, and they're both tragedies to their own right. But the 1958 version is a tragedy of the family and her, mostly her tragedy and her feeling, her perspective, and the other one's mostly through Jeff Goldblum's, tragedy too.
Well, so
both of them, but it's mostly like
That would be one of the
they
things.
explore the fly more.
That'd be one of the things I would start with as like one of the weaker points of the 1986 version was I thought Gina Davis's character was not very good.
I
And
think
thought the publisher angle.
Well, yeah,
Wasn't
she was a
it-
writer, right?
Yeah.
Why was she filming him?
I mean, she
Because
was gonna write a
She was
book,
documenting.
and then she was
And
doing
then turned into a documentary.
yeah,
I-
and then she never did it again.
Yeah.
Can I
like,
tell you though that I don't think she's that great of an actress. Gina
I don't think
Davis.
so either.
Like, and
I
everything
actually I
everything
looked
I've
at-
seen her in, like even League of Her Own and the
Stuart Little?
Cutthroat Island, which is I like that movie.
How about Stuart Little?
Yeah,
So I looked it up in the middle of the movie because I was like, is she a good actress? She's been nominated for an Oscar and she has won an Oscar.
yeah. Well,
So
For
like,
what?
I don't remember the
Oh,
way.
okay,
I think
okay.
but it was like Thelma and Louise. Maybe it
Oh,
was
okay.
one of the two. I don't
That-
remember which one she won for.
the faux silent movie.
But yeah,
She doesn't have to speak lines.
Yeah,
I think
when she played the mute.
to be to be fair though, I think she got better when she was
not
intimidated,
doing anything.
when she was scared. I guess
When she was scared? When she was scared?
It felt
She
more
hit her
real to me.
lines.
Well,
for sure.
I
Like,
felt
I
that
mean-
she was really best utilized.
I mean, when-
off-screen.
when-
she hit her marks.
one of the flaws that I had in '86 was when you are going to take a gun to somebody's house. Why do you take the case with you and build the gun in the house that you're going to murder the
safety
person in?
first.
Oh, okay. All right, that's it. Because I was like, why is he building the gun in the
Why did she
loft?
go to the editor to begin with?
Well, yeah.
The guy that's
Oh my
only
gosh.
been a creep, like
why are you
stalker
going to
guy.
him? Why are you going to him? And then like I know it was just a dream, but him being in the abortion room, like what is going
Wildly
on there?
inappropriate.
Yeah.
After he's like literally breaking and entering into an ex-girlfriend's house.
He does it
and
twice.
making, like very.
She's like, I'm gonna go back to him because he has all the answers. Like,
Look at his goatee or his beard.
oh, his beard. Yeah, he did have a nice
He had
beard.
a nice beard.
I will say that they did that character pretty well because he's awful, but he in the same stroke he gets his comeuppance and a redemption
But I'm
at the same
kind of
time.
I'm kind of with Ben because this
makes
is
it-
very tragic. It's a very
Yeah.
tragic kind of drama.
Well, and
yeah.
He makes a cameo in the second Fly.
that guy.
Yeah,
Does he not have an arm and a leg?
he doesn't have an
He
arm.
has
Oh,
it-
wow.
Yeah, or
his
like
ankle.
That was so
Yeah.
gross and
Ass
so
so gross.
cool.
That was amazing.
And then he passed out.
Well, the second fly, like the fly 2, there's a spot where he spits acid in a security guard's face, and it's showing it live, and it's like a skull. It's so gross, and he's screaming like that. It's
Kind of
so
like
good.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but this was graphic and good.
when
Are you saying
Jeff
Indiana
Goldblum's
Jones was
face
not
gets
graphic
ripped
and
off
or good?
and
None
it's
of
moving
none
on the
of
ground
distributors
still.
is-
Yeah.
One of the better, I feel like, as many really cool on-screen gross outs and practical effects and these weird little additions they had for this 1986 fly. I think one of the most creepy parts was the off-screen listening to him how he eats. When he was like, "Oh yeah, I got to spit this thing on it, and then it digests it and turns it liquid, and then I slurp it up." And all of that is they describe it, and then that's off screen. And I think it was Gina Davis maybe, but like just having heard what that was, and then like listening to it was really unsettling.
Yeah, and then you had the improv of Jeff Goldblum going, "Oh, this is disgusting."
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate that body horror. I hate that.
You really do.
I don't like that at
It's
all.
almost as bad as lipstick. Am I right?
He mentions it really quickly, and
Nothing's as
something
bad
that
as
I
that.
thought was really funny is that he names the baby before the baby even gets a name, and he calls it Brindle. Like he says it very quickly. It's like, "Don't kill Brindle." Like it's like very quick. Like
The Brindle.
Brindle.
One of the things, the fact that he referred to himself as Brundlefly made me mad.
Brundlefly.
I hated it. I hated that. I thought that was stupid.
But
That was
he was
so stupid.
He was marketing it to kids. He's like, "Listen, kids, this
He's
is
already
how
got the
a
branding.
Brindlefly eats."
Aaron, what sorry, I think we keep cutting you off maybe. What stands out as maybe something that wasn't very good in either of the movies?
My main concern with the 58 movie is that I enjoyed every minute of it, but I felt like it was too long. Like as Ben said, it does set up the suspense and everything very well. I just felt like it could have moved a little faster.
I just think you don't like long movies. There's very few long movies you like. Like
You could not be more wrong.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You know what I like better than I do.
Well, here's the thing about maybe even just older
That's
movies is that just the flow of like I bet if you're watching that movie at that time, regardless of just movies at this time were this length and this pacing, I think that's because they accepted the pacing as reality. Like there is so much
of a play.
There's so much note writing, there's so
Yeah.
much phone calls.
Well, you also-
there's so many of this just
Oh, yeah.
But you
and
also-
that's the only way to communicate. Whereas in 1986, they just, for one, they cut all that out. But if there's something that needs to be transmitted, they're just gonna.
Well, think of this, Matt, too. In addition to that comment, back then, there was more epics and stuff like that. But 58, 40s, movies were longer, and like you think about it,
They let
movies
things breathe.
That was it. That was the only mode of entertainment, and people couldn't wait to go to the movies. One, because there was air conditioning.
Yeah.
People didn't have air conditioning. My mom talks about it. My grandma talked about it. Like in the 40s,
like,
especially,
cartoons and
they
stuff?
they would stay in the movies
Either
for a
went to the
while
pool or
they
the theater.
They would love the double feature. They would love to stay in the
That was like a good summer day.
And through that lens, I don't mind that. It's just that I love plenty of long movies. Like The Godfather's 20 hours long, but I love every minute of it.
But that was the thing. They're just longer because it was. Now our attention spans are much quicker too.
Well, I don't know. Well, I guess that could be in play here. I guess, Aaron, what
All I'm
are
trying
some
to-
of the reasons?
I
I guess
don't
that,
dislike the movie for its length. It's just a matter of preference in this case. Like, I don't think it makes it bad at all.
Philippe is
It's just a slight
is a
knock.
new age serial killer. When he picks up the cat, they're like, "Be careful with that cat," and they have this shot of his face, and he's just like,
Yes, mother.
Well, and also
like,
just
whoa.
the fact that they have to remind him to, hey,
"Yeah,
be careful.
Be
This
careful.
you remember last time, right?
I don't wanna.
I know how you like eating flies, but stop eating those
He's
flies.
a juvenile delinquent."
I remember my main concern with 86 Fly now. Okay. I loved almost everything, but when he gets drunk and jealous and he just decides to throw himself in the teleporter, like, what are you doing?
I mean, they
Don't do
just
it, bud.
met. They just met. Like, oh,
I don't know. Time is done very odd in this movie because they'll skip, like they between the beginning of his transformation and when he and Gina Davis stop talking.
Oh, yeah.
And then he calls her and they're like, it's been 4 weeks.
yeah.
You know.
But I mean, literally after the baboon is
Yeah.
inside out, they have sex. And
Yeah, that's weird.
it's so strange. She starts it too. She's like, "You're hot," and
No,
I'm
she
like,
says you're
"Whoa."
cute.
Oh, you're cute. Oh. She's playing tough to get, you know.
It's true, but he was a model.
Well, so while both movies kind of talk about the implications of what the technology is, even in the second, in 1986 version, they're very clear about that up front. Like, this is going to change the world. This is going to change the world over and over and over. The first one, a little bit more time, I guess, time specific for the era it was in. It's like, think about TV and how this happens, and well, this is kind of the same, but for this reason. And I don't know, the first movie had a little bit more, the weight of what they were talking about carry through a little bit longer. And maybe I'm being biased about how new the technology was for that time, whereas I see 1986 and this genius and how he's trying to market himself, although kind of confusingly. He was like, "Hey, you're a journalist, right? You want to talk to me? You want to talk to me, right? Oh, but don't publish anything ever for like 2 years
Well,
because I'm
he
not
was
very good."
just trying to
Goldblum.
get in her pants.
Yeah. So the fact that he's like,
That's what the movie's called, The Fly. She's trying to. She's trying to
zip.
The Fly.
I feel like it might have been easier to connect with somebody in the older movie than somebody in this newer one, because it's either you got an asshole, this journalist girl who you don't know what she's really doing. Like, is she a documentarian or is she like a journal? I didn't
Journalists
know
can
what she was
document
doing.
things.
But I didn't understand because they kept on talking about writing a book, and then
he
all
was
of a sudden
trying
she's
to
with the
tempt
camera.
her. Like, when he was telling her that he didn't want her to publish her stuff yet, he told her this could be bigger than a story. It could be a book. And are you saying journalists could not write in
No.
long form?
No, not that. Like the video camera. All of a sudden, the next scene, she has a video camera and she's documenting with a video camera.
Yeah,
and
you-
before she was documenting with just audio.
Let's say, just for the sake of argument, if I was a journalist, I would videotape a lot of my stuff.
I mean, hell yeah, I would videotape everything.
because then you have a record and you can
And
go
then
back
and
to
then
it.
it's fun because he like after he does it himself, he's like, I videotaped it for you.
She's like, oh,
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna watch that tonight.
another plus that the 58 version has over the 86 version is that, okay, so now we know, so we're hoping that he comes back to a human, but now that's not there. But we're now hoping that someone else, they have to figure, how is she, like, she's got to be saved because she's going to be convicted. You know what I mean? So, you know,
Yeah.
so they had a big, scene at the end that like it's very, it's like, oh, it's a relief and it's a tragedy at the same time. But it's like, oh my god, like they're not like. It's such. I like that.
When Philippe finds the fly in the spider web, and it was like you kind of like, yes, go. Vincent, go to the
Get it before they take it
And,
away.
and he's listening, like he hears it, he can't hear it. It's like, oh, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially the first time you watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The added suspense I feel like for the 86 was that they added on the full transformation. You see the pictures of it in advance this was the first time I saw the 86 movie. by
Oh,
the way.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I kind of vaguely remember like, oh, that's what the fly looks like, but it hadn't
So
come
gross.
up yet. And it was like, oh, what I wasn't thinking about it, and then it goes full boat transformation
Because it's-
right at the end, and it's like, oh wow, that
A
was like the
fleshy
extra
fry.
kicker
Yeah.
for it. Yeah,
I love
And face falls off.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and then but like when she has the gun and he like picks it up
Oh.
and points it to his head.
that
and,
was one of the better
brilliant.
parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so tragic, man.
Yeah.
So my last
The
que-
last bit of consciousness that he has of being himself, he's like, kill me. you
Yeah,
know?
he's just like
he's
in
got
it.
it's beautiful, actually.
my last question was
gross.
going to be like, what is the best scene from each movie?
Well, clearly the iconic scene of the spider, that was the most memorable scene to me when he's caught in the web in the first one, and then that scene that Colin talked about to me
After he like stumbles out,
yeah, and just killing.
points the
Oh,
gun.
it's just so
Yeah.
tragic,
All right, Colin, what would you say?
well, I don't know why it sticks out in my head, but my favorite scene in the first one has to be him getting pulled away and her on the phone being like, he's a juvenile delinquent. and I don't know why that sticks with me. And I've been saying it on the phone a lot now since I've watched it, and like
It's
yeah.
affecting my home life.
It's everything.
What about the second one?
I think there's certain little pieces of Jeff Goldblum that I just love so much, and like when he's ordering Chinese food, and he's just like, but I'm ordering because she walks away, and he's just like, like he's like reaching out to grab her, but he's like on the phone. Yeah, I don't. I think
He's such a character.
The little subtleness of Jeff Goldblum, and probably the scene where Jeff Goldblum he gets out of the transporter for the first time, and the baboon jumps into his arms, and he's holding the baboon, and like that. I don't know. That was iconic for me.
Love it.
And then when they get cut, it's like clawing his face.
Yeah, he's 4 weeks in the hospital after that.
Cheeseburger.
I have to say,
They got to pay me pretty good to hold a baboon.
Cheeseburger.
that was easily my favorite part of the newer movie was every scene where the baboon is best buds with Jeff Goldblum.
This is a little buddy
He
cop.
loved
I'm
him.
sorry I killed your brother.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, because it was funny because this was the first time I'd seen the newer one too, and when the baboon comes out after the first successful transfer, it flies out of there like a bat out of hell.
Yeah.
And I thought, is he gonna attack him? Oh no, he's just best buds. Okay,
they're
we're good.
buddies.
And then it never comes back.
No.
What happened to it?
And there were some other animals too, right?
No,
Did he have other animals?
Wait, what happened to the baboon?
I don't know. They
I think
did
there
show
were
the
deleted
cages.
scenes that involved baboons
They showed
and
some
cats.
cages, and maybe he was in the cage.
Oh, I think there is a deleted scene. I think there's a deleted scene where he experiments on it, and it goes, and it turns.
All right.
I think he was trying to mutate it on purpose.
There was a cat something else
Yeah.
hybrid scene that got cut because it was like gross or something.
I think that was it. He put the baboon and the cat together.
I'm on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do. Oh, that's another one in the old one is when he puts the cat in, the cat becomes a ghost.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Oh yeah.
The Wonka vision didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
what happened.
The monkey
The
cat.
Ready?
infamous monkey cat scene.
Yeah,
monkey
that's what happened to him.
Gross.
Yeah. Oh, Cronenberg.
Oh, Cronenberg.
Okay, we're back.
Monkey cat. So, Aaron, so is that your favorite scene from '86 then? Was
well,
the baboon?
there's not for me it's kind of a package movie. There wasn't anything that stood out individually. It's just fun. It was a fun romp. No scene actually stood out in my mind.
Okay.
A lot of it was just okay.
What about 58 then?
Easily the fly in the spider web scene.
Yeah. It's
Easily.
so memorable.
It's so iconic.
And they even mention it too. He's like, "I'll always remember that scream." And it's like
Yeah.
that like
And it's-
transport. If anybody talks about it, they always go, "Help
And
me."
as a kid watching it for the first time, it's left such a disturbing impression
Yeah.
on me. This is the way the spider gets
Anytime I
him.
see a plush spider.
Yeah. But it was just like it's like there's so many questions. So I think as a kid it made an impression on me.
Yeah. I would say the only other thing I would add for the 1958 version is the first time he teleports something. It just felt so. It might have been easy and an easy effect, but it felt so confident to me that when he just walks down, puts the plate on there, and he's like, "Watch this," and it just disappears, and then they walk over it. Like for some reason, it just like. If that had failed, if that moment had failed, the whole movie fails to me. And for me, they were able to lock me in that like, oh, he was able to figure out how to transport this from there to there. And I think a lot of that comes from whatever the effect was to light it up and then it's gone. But then
those
how they
different elements
how
are
they
cool.
filmed like him walking from the first one to the second one. They're both in the shot. And like just some of those little decisions to show that it worked, I guess, that this is a big deal.
One scene that I liked in the 58 version also was a line that I like. I think they're probably quoting somebody else, and I'm probably butchering the line, but I think it's a really good line just in general. But he says, "Darling, the more I know, the more I'm sure I know so little."
Yeah, that's a good.
I love that line.
So good, yeah.
What
What are you looking at? Maybe the face of God.
Yeah.
So like,
Can we get some more flowery language in there?
but then he's a juvenile delinquent.
He's a juvenile delinquent.
But the more the smarter you are, like you realize I don't know nothing. You know?
Yeah. The Andre character had a little bit more.
Over the top news.
No. I was gonna say the opposite compared to Jeff Goldblum.
Oh,
Compared to Jeff, he's kind of
Jeff
vanilla.
Goldblum is kind of like, yeah, sure, I don't care if we do the research. Who cares, man? I just pay people to give me the part. Like, it seems so scatterbrained, whereas Andre is
Libyans.
like, feels like I'm a god now, and this is my more like, there's so many more loftier questions when it comes to
classic 1950s
Yeah.
scientists.
Yeah.
I do like the debate
The
with
moral
the wife
obligation.
dilemma. Yeah.
in the 1958 one where he's debating with his wife. She's like, no more experiments with animals and stuff like that. And like that was kind of a cool little part. you
But
know?
it's cool, and it's also
That was the guinea pig one, right?
Yeah,
When she
yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
no. Okay.
Yeah.
she's like no more experimenting with animals, and it was also like foreshadowing that he's going to experiment with himself.
and that's also a connection to the 86 one because
They got no problem experimenting on animals.
yeah, but well, they
Gotta get that lipstick.
they for the guinea pig. Oh, you have to keep it for a month, and keep it alive for a month, and then we'll see how it does. Where in the 86 one, she goes, "How long do you have to wait for tests on the baboon?" And he's like, "It'll probably take a month,
He said for a couple weeks.
a couple weeks."
Yeah, but
Well,
he
I thought-
immediately abandons that. I wrote that down. Like,
Oh, yeah,
wait,
yeah.
so
You
you're
know,
gonna
for a genius ain't so
Well, he got-
smart.
he
you're
got
gonna go
drunk.
on vacation? No. This was before this was the drunk scene when
Yeah.
when she leaves, and he's like, and then he gets drunk, and then he goes right in, but. He's such a bad scientist. Like, immediately
ones
after
are.
that, she's like, "We should go away and take a vacation.
We should
And he's
travel
like,
since
"Did-
it makes you sick.
He's like, "Did you not just hear me say that?"
Makes you sick.
It's
had to
like,
wait
did you not?
15
I have to test this baboon to make sure it works. And he was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great. Like, let's go." Like, what?
Let's go to Bermuda.
The only other
definitely
scene,
bear.
the only other scene I would add for 1986 was I got really mad after I found out the larva thing was a dream sequence.
Really?
I wrote down like swear words in my notes. I was like, "Are you kidding me? You're gonna pull the rug out from under me?" But then they brought it back, and she was still pregnant and was still trying to get an abortion. Like,
And then they made a whole movie
I-
about it.
That idea is really interesting and kind of creepy.
You know, there's another deleted scene about that.
And the fact that they showed like the most disgusting version of that, even if it didn't come to life, they showed you what like where your mind could go with this.
They do a
kind of
resolution
idea.
to that, Matt, in a deleted scene.
Ugh.
At the end of the movie, in certain cuts, they do the dream sequence again, but this time it's a normal baby, but it has butterfly wings.
What?
Yeah, it's a more optimistic view of the dream.
Oh yeah.
I do like the doctor holding the larva. It's like,
What is this?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
But the new the Fly 2 isn't bad.
You're gonna larva it.
Do you want to review The Fly 2 next week, Ben?
No,
Yeah, you've really pushed
no,
it
but
for
I think maybe
Fly
we
2.
should do a review eventually, but not for a while.
I think we should do Scanners. That's another Cronenberg.
do another Scanners versus do a Cronenberg versus Vincent Price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how about the Thing? You guys did the Thing, right?
We haven't.
Oh.
done
we haven't.
Ooh.
We do.
That'll be a
That's
special.
another
show.
one.
There we go,
Theme
yeah.
versus theme. We know who's gonna win.
The Thing.
Yeah. You don't beat the
yeah,
thing.
the thing will win.
No, the original theme from Outer Space. It's based on.
Oh yeah, the original Thing
Yeah.
to Cronenberg's Thing.
Uh,
He did a lot of those, didn't he?
Well, no, no, that was that wasn't Cronenberg who did the thing. That was
Say it.
Carpenter.
John
Carpenter.
Carpenter.
Carpenter. Sorry,
Carpenter.
yeah, Carpenter. Yeah. But it was a Cronenberg,
Production.
because of all the like
Effects,
when the
yeah.
dog
It looked-
when the
yeah,
dog
but
transforms and
kinda
stuff.
It's
Cronenberg-y.
Cronenberg's, but I think it's a different person.
Okay.
It might have been the same.
I'm on it.
This is a Rick and
You
Morty.
could be right.
Episode.
You could
No,
be
no,
right.
no, it's cool. It's cool. But yeah,
Cronenberg world.
But
I was just thinking
But it must
Cronenberg.
have been a thing back then to remake old 50 movies, because that was all in the 80s
Well,
too.
that's the.
You know.
This is a great segue into talking about how we would rate the movie. Like, what would we pick between them? Just because so many of these. I love old. I had so many notes in here. I love old sci-fi, old tech. I love old movies in this realm.
Same.
So much, like at a deep level, like when I watch it, because you can see the limitations, but how they're trying to overcome it with really good ideas
And stories.
And so seeing how the ideas get translated for a modern audience, like just better equipment, better stuff, better resources, better actors, like there's something there where so many of these old movies have like a kernel of something brilliant in them that then there's a reason why they get remade.
Yeah.
Not to interrupt, but I did the fact check.
Yeah.
I went to the Wikipedia page, The Thing, 1982. I did a page search for Berg, and there were no Cronins. So
Dang. All right. It just reminded me of it.
very, very much similar.
All right. It's moment of truth. We're going to have to pick.
Okay.
We're going to have to at least differentiate somehow.
Can we? What's the order this time?
What do you want it to be?
It doesn't matter what I want it to be.
It kind of does.
I decide.
Aaron first.
All right. Are we giving out number reviews or saying which one we prefer first?
I think you can combine them. I think it's worth it to give our numbers for each of them, but then kind
All
of
right.
explain.
Give numbers or tell us which one you like better than numbers.
But you guys have this weird system where the numbers don't matter.
Yes, they do.
Where
They do and they don't.
it's like I'll give this one a 9 and
My
the other one an
numbers-
8, but the 8 is better. Like what?
No, you know why that makes sense? Because a movie can be objectively better than another, and I don't have to like it.
Wow.
There are lots of good things that I don't care for.
Yeah.
So you guys are thinking of just for our audience's standpoint.
If I was judging an Olympic competition, I would take the one that had the higher score. But the movies are different.
No, it's
So you're
okay.
you're saying the opposite of
Okay,
him.
well, but
No, I'm with him.
But they're different. They're different types of movies too. Like
Yeah.
So I think maybe if you give
I've said this before.
certain
Some of my
number-
favorite movies
Yeah.
are rated a 2 on my scale.
Okay, all right. Yeah, this is
All
all
right.
about your explanation,
Go,
though.
go.
So make sure you explain. Yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
do
Aaron.
it when I'm ready. All right. Okay, I'm ready. I prefer the 1986 by a very small margin, and I'd have to give both of them a 7. They're both pretty good.
What gives the 1986 version? Is it kind of what you're hinting at earlier about the pacing and slowness of it, or?
Well, I almost thought that the pacing in the 86 movie was a little too fast in places. Not everywhere.
It
but
was fast, yeah.
It was pretty brisk.
Like the life of a fly.
I enjoyed how they delved a little deeper into the
didn't even think
tech
about
on this
that,
movie.
actually.
In the 86 movie, they do a little more tech stuff, and it just felt more fleshed out. Because in the 58, like in the 50s and 60s, sci-fi was very magical. Didn't need much of an explanation.
And it wasn't even about the technology. It was about the tragedy, rather.
It was very much
The characters.
technophobic.
Yeah.
It's more of the idea of it.
Yeah. And I appreciate that at times, but in this case, I prefer the 86 version.
All right, so we got one for 86. We're gonna end on Colin
All right.
as our guest. You can go last. Ben, do you want to go?
You want me to do a slow zoom for this, or?
Go ahead.
Okay. You don't need to move forward if I'm going to zoom.
For those who are listening, both of them have their merits. As Chekhov said in The Cold War. The original one is a great tragedy. You know, a lot of memories as a kid. And then the 86 one was sad too.
You're such a ham.
And it had a lot of good special effects. Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, poor Jeff Goldblum. I'm going to rate them the same, maybe a 7. And I'm going to say it's a tie. It's a tie.
No,
yes.
get out of here. No. There is no ties.
No, there is. I love them for
It's
both.
a showdown. We have to pick.
I know.
You have to pick one.
But it's a draw. But no, I had to pick. But I think they're both pretty equal. But if we're gonna do it for showdown,
You have to pick. You have to
if
pick.
one's gonna go over that, I think the original's better.
Original.
Fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I was in the same boat. I had to pick one.
So if I'm gonna pick, I'm just gonna spoil it. I'm gonna say 1986 is better as the winner between the two. The only reason I say that is because of our conversation we were just talking about. The original had such a great idea, but I don't think it was utilized as well as it could have been. I don't think the 1986 version was utilized as well as it could have been. Honestly, they relied a little bit on the horror gross out, but they were trying to like do this weird pairing with make it a relationship type thing, so it feels like he's losing something, even though the Gina Davis storyline fell really flat for me. So if I'm being objective numbers, I would say the original Fly, as much as I love old movies and they have a place for me, I would say the original Fly is probably in like a 5 range. I don't like it's good. That's a harsh rating, but like
Not on my scale.
I enjoy
it's
it.
Perfectly average.
Yeah, I think it's good and it's an amazing idea. How it was utilized wasn't very good. Whereas the Jeff Goldblum Fly is probably like if I'm rounding up, it'd probably get to a 7. It's in to me, it's more in the like high 6 range. But I think yeah,
Thank
sure.
you for that. My keyboard's not working tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of both of them is more interesting, and then seeing how they play out. Why I would give it to the other one is both Jeff Goldblum is amazing, and also I think the storytelling. While to Aaron's point, the overall movie is very fast. The moments Jeff Goldblum is in it, and seeing like the ramifications of him merging with this creature was a little bit more interesting to me. So,
All right.
all right, Colin.
I also think I like the concept of them splitting. I think it's an interesting idea. It's fascinated me for some reason of them.
It has more to play with.
the half and half.
The half and half.
Yeah. That is, yeah.
For some reason, I like that. I like them that they went a different direction in the '86 one, but I also like that's interesting.
Yeah.
But the '86 one probably makes more sense. That what would happen? You would merge.
Colin, all right, bring us home.
Well, they're from 2 different eras, and the '86 one is very '80s, like just right in the prime of those '80 films. Jeff Goldblum definitely dominates that movie. Like you were saying, his storyline is probably the best part of that movie. But
And the thing I would add for that too is that he also doesn't go. It has a uniqueness to how he performs it. It's not like I'm a monster
Well,
immediately.
you're with
he's
him.
very subdued. At
you're with
times
him
too,
from the beginning,
which is kind of funny.
Like,
Yeah.
And when it cuts away from him, it's a little like, oh, go back to the
Go back.
Go back.
Get
What
outta
is
here.
he doing? What is he doing? For me, though, the old one, I love that kind of play structure where the shots are blocked out and people need to move to their spots and pick up the phone at a certain time, and then somebody's going to be walking down and then somebody's line comes up a little bit later. I love just that story beats. There's a couple of flaws in the 86 one that make me want to say the 58 one wins for me.
So you're,
I'm picking the 58.
Oh, good.
So it's a
So we're
tie.
ending in a tie. Great.
Sorry,
If you're gonna-
but
if you're gonna give a number for both of them, just really.
I kind of gave it a little bit higher. Do you guys do halves? Am I allowed to do a half?
Sure.
Yeah, we do all the time.
I gave Jeff Goldblum's 86 a 7.5, and I gave the original an 8.
Wow.
And for
I can
me,
see that.
for me, like that one works so well because there's a lot of older films that you're just, and I know you guys had little problems with some of the pacing of it, but I kind of like that slow burn because I was with them, you know,
Yeah.
like learning with them, but then like it gets fast paced where
Yeah.
he's like, oh, you gotta get to, like, you're taking her away right now. You gotta get down
and
there.
the deterioration too of him progressing, like it worked for him, like slowly deteriorating.
I liked how they
his-
did the stuff with the knocking.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
knocking, and then he's like,
Yeah, it was a little over the top, but I kind of liked it though. But it was a cool way to.
Yeah.
His
Yeah, I
chalkboard
feel like I
handwriting
should-
was unaffected.
And the
but-
fact that he was quiet the whole time and she's
Yeah.
just doing talking, that's kind of creepy and spooky.
Yeah, very tense.
And
It
you,
did
you got
put-
the Scream Queen going, screaming when his mask
Right.
gets.
Yeah.
And the classic like his point of view of
Yeah.
seeing.
It did put. It made her a much more interesting, engaging character for sure.
Yeah.
Like the wife of this scientist, and
She was kind of the main
it was
character.
yeah, she really was. And how she handled the main character of the 1958 version is somebody dealing with the ramifications of this, whereas 1986 is Jeff Goldblum, the guy who
the guy.
becomes
Yeah.
a fly. Like
Yeah.
that's the difference in the
Yeah,
movies. Which
exactly.
again, the idea of 1958 is just
Like-
a genius idea.
You know, as much as the Help Me
awesome.
is like so impactful from the classic one, the fly where he's with Jeff Goldblum when he's messing with his teeth, and
yeah.
like that has stuck with me since I've seen it the first time. Like it messed me up.
Messed me up too.
the
yeah.
fingernail.
Oh yeah, and it's right after. It's right after he does the teeth and then he does the fingernail, and you're just like, all right,
Get out of here.
I'm scarred.
Cronenberg.
I'm scarred.
It's that body horror. Ugh,
But yeah, the body horror. Yeah.
All right. All right, so we ended in a tie.
Well, I feel like
Very
I should add
definitive.
something just because maybe I didn't represent myself well enough. I love old movies, and I think the pacing on the 58 one could have been faster, but I enjoyed every minute of it because I enjoy 50s styling, especially the Technicolor on this movie.
Beautiful.
It looked amazing.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
The lighting and the colors were
It's 3 different films, Technicolor. I learned that it was the RGB.
yeah, they had sometimes in this movie there were some bad color
Can
strips
we just
in
watch
places.
the
Did
G
you notice?
cut or
No, I don't remember.
There was one particular shot where
Hey,
it's
can
a
I get
close
that
up of the
G-cut?
garbage can, and you're looking at the flies, and this color strip goes crazy for a second there.
I love all the lighting, like when they are in his lab and the lights are going on and
Yeah.
off.
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Well, that was part of the appeal of the showing off the Technicolor at the time.
yeah.
And the sequel of that one was black and white, and it was not as good.
What a
And
downgrade.
Vincent Price is in that one, and he's like, he didn't. He thought it was so cool the first
What's
one.
the
being
number
Technicolor.
for phoning it in?
FLY.
So we have tied.
we have tied. Yeah,
I have a quarter right here.
Oh,
let's do it.
ow! You just killed a fly.
Somebody call it.
Heads.
Heads for what?
Heads for the
He-
1958.
Heads for the 1958.
Yeah. Because it's a white head.
86 wins.
Oh,
I don't have my sounds right now. Somebody do the air horns.
I did.
Pew, 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 pew.
Cheeseburger.
cheeseburgers, cheeseburgers.
Should I turn the stream off now?
No. Not yet.
One of us.
Say what
You turned it out. All right. So,
magic word.
so thank you very much, Colin.
Juvenile delinquent.
That's your end. That's your end. End cap.
Tell us what we have going on.
Thank you very much, Colin. So
thank
we've
you
got.
guys.
We're
Thank you,
gonna do
boys.
a watch along tomorrow for Troll 2 with another special guest,
Awesome.
and that'll come out early next week. And then a week from today, we're doing Halloween.
No,
Or
no.
not
We're
Halloween. We're doing
Friday the 13th, part 6.
6.
Jason goes to lunch.
And,
Yes.
and we have a couple of shorts coming out too.
And we've got a short. Yeah,
That short
we got
would
a
have
lot
been done
going on.
today.
Sweet.
That short would have been done today.
There's so much
if it wasn't so
spooky madness happening.
complicated.
All right, ready? Cheeseburgers,
Cheeseburgers.
cheeseburgers,
Next week.
cheeseburgers,
Watch us.
cheeseburgers.